Hello from Gardening at Douentza here in Ireland, and you're very welcome to this, the final video in my 12 Days of Christmas vlogmas special. And today we have a mixed bag for you again. Clips from houseplant care, clips from my orchids, stuff I've been doing in the greenhouse and even outdoors. And I hope you'll enjoy it. I hope the format is something you're enjoying and that it gets us all in a good Christmassy mood. Anyway, without further ado, and happy Christmas, but let's get on with the video. At the moment, due to coronavirus restrictions, we're not allowed to visit another county. However, I do have 2 children recovering from operations this Christmas, so a trip up to the hospital in Dublin is on the cards. And I don't know about you, but whenever I pass by this wonderful garden centre, Johnstown, I suddenly feel the need to visit the bathroom. And of course, when I'm in there, I have to have a look at the wonderful plants. A lot of seasonal things, the poinsettias are certainly holding their weight, and the scented gardenias, which will look just amazing in a while. But there seem to be quite a few gaps in the houseplant section, and I'm putting this down to, well, you know, just that we've been in lockdown for so very long. Of course, the fact that our near neighbour, the UK, is soon to embark on Brexit is going to just make things worse. However, I did spot this gorgeous begonia and was very tempted until I realised that it was actually only 4 cuttings in a pot, not a full mature plant. So I didn't buy that because it was expensive enough. They did have this aloe, but it wasn't different or nice enough for me to actually purchase. And the main reason why I popped in here in the first place was to try and pick up some Iris reticulata Catherine Hodgkins, which is a glorious, beautiful, small flowered iris that comes up in spring. And you may have seen my video about it last year. But can you believe there were no spring bulbs at all, just vegetables? My goodness, a real sign of the times. And then I saw it from across a crowded room. This glorious blue flower. What is it? It must be a South African bulb. Maybe Douentza? Let's have a closer examine. Oh no, it's plastic. And this beauty as well, which also intrigued me. Looks like a gorgeous fern, but it's plastic too. And today I'm going to sow some dictamnus seeds, and I'm going to reuse this seed tray. I sowed pachypodium on here, but they never came up, so we'll just reuse the tray. So time to find my seeds, and they are kept, of course, in the fridge, like all seeds should be. They are, of course, in a watertight box. And I have a little packet of silica, like you get in so many goods, and it just helps keep them nice and dry. Now, dictamnus is also known as burning bush, but what I can tell you about it is that it is a beautiful, beautiful flower in my garden. Large pink flowers that everybody asks about when they see, so it's definitely worth propagating and getting more of. So this is a plant that needs stratification to germinate. That means it needs cold treatment. Now I'm going to sow the seeds today and keep them at room temperature for 10 days. Then they will go into the fridge for 4 weeks. Yes, that already stuffed fridge you saw in there. They'll have a plastic cover over them and they'll stay in there for 4 weeks. And if they don't germinate, then they'll be taken out and put on heat for 5 weeks. And if not, just return to the fridge, and then the heat, the fridge, the heat, fridge, the heat, until eventually it germinates. And now I'm just pressing the seeds into the medium just very lightly so that they come into intimate contact with the moist soil, and covering them with a little bit of perlite. And then the final thing is to just pop them on top of this heat mat, which isn't switched on because these seeds are doing their 10 days at room temperature. They'll have a lid over them, and that lid will serve just to keep the moisture that I've already put into them in. So I won't have to water them again until such a time as they germinate and I take the lid off. Folks, and today we're going to repot some neofinetia or Vanda orchids. So I have everything here that I need for the process, so let's get on with it. And the reason why I'm repotting these two neofinetias is that I noticed some slug tracks on the plants. Oh yuck! So every time I came in I could see a kind of slug track over the mound of moss that these were potted in. So I decided to take them out and get rid of the slugs, and do you know what? It was two little snails, one in either pot, and they were so tiny and so completely cute that I couldn't be angry with them at all. Anyway, so I took these out, and now what we're going to do is to just repot them. So let's have a look at these two plants. And actually the roots are in fairly good order. You can see that they are firm and white. Not so many new growing tips, if we turn it around, but everything looks in fairly good order. There are a couple that I might clip off, like this one here. It seems very wiry and withered. So with my sterilized scissors, that's just what I'll do. I'll just clip this one here and then just examine it a bit further to see if there's anything else. And I think, no, that's good enough. We'll go with that. And this other smaller one that has never flowered, the roots aren't in as good shape, so we've a bit more clipping to do. That one, this one here maybe, this one. And let's take off this one here. And so now we are going to repot these orchids, and it's very interesting how we're going to do this, a bit different to how we repot other orchids. What we're going to use is this pot here, but we're going to try to repot in the Japanese style, which means that the plant is going to sit on a mound of moss proud of the pot like this. So to just help with aeration, I have these little plastic orchid pots, and what I'm going to do is sit my orchid on top of the pot like this, and then surround it with moss and put it in here. So let's see how that's done. So first up, I'm going to just put some clay pebbles in the base of the pots, and this will just mean that I don't have to fill the whole thing in with moss. So this plant is going to be in here and this one on here. And now I'm going to get my moss. And here's my sphagnum moss. Now, if you have proper long stranded moss that doesn't break when you do something with it, then you can do a much more elegant job than I'm going to do here. So what I am doing is a kind of workaround because of the fact that I don't have this kind of moss. So I'm going to take my little pot. I'm going to sit the plant on top of the pot. And now I'm just going to take some moss and kind of wrap it round like this. If you have long stranded sphagnum, you can do this and kind of tie it in a much more elegant way. But since I can't get my hands on that, that just isn't going to work. And just kind of push it in. Making sure not to cover up any of the leaves, and those roots are trying to escape down there. And then once I have this most unelegant ball of something, we'll call it a Christmas ball, but let's do that. Let's just maneuver it into the pot like so. And then just to neaten it up a little bit, I'm kind of just patting the moss in, adding a little bit more around. This isn't the first time I've potted my neofinetias like this. Needs must, you know. The first time I did it properly because I got my hands on the long stranded sphagnum, but the next time it just didn't work out. So this is the way I made do. And they've done well, and this plant actually flowered last year and the year before. So I am saying it's good. Okay, that's that one finished. Let's have a go at the little one. So here's the little plant, here's the little pot. We put it on top of the pot. And then we grab some sphagnum. And wrap it around. Now this sphagnum looks like it might do the job. It looks like it has long strands, but if you actually pull on them, they break. So they can't take any pressure at all. And always a good thing to do when you get your sphagnum, if it's wet on the inside in any way, leave the lid off so that it dries out, because if it's wet, which is what it should be when it's on the plants, but it shouldn't be when it's in the packet because it just degrades more quickly. And I feel this one isn't coming out as elegantly as the first one, but we're gonna maneuver this now into the pot. And then just, as we did before, neaten up. And for anyone watching who doesn't know this style of repotting neofinetias, it's the Japanese style. Well, this is my version of the Japanese style. Let's not be pretentious here. And it's something that the samurai used to do. I mean, they used to grow neofinetia many years ago. It was like almost a sacred orchid. Now classified as Vanda, of course, which brings everything down a notch, doesn't it? Just doesn't seem as good. And they have beautiful, beautiful pots, ceramic pots with elaborate designs on that cost an absolute fortune, that these were potted up in, so that the pots were really quite long. And yeah, neofinetia repotting. kind of in the traditional style, but more like the make-do style. And did anybody notice the hippeastrum behind me during the recording of this video? It is, of course, hippeastrum papilio, and I have a second spike. A little while ago I recorded a video where I removed the pollen from my first spike, but now I have a second. And all of the hippeastrums are coming into bloom. This hybrid here has a meaty looking spike. And if we follow this other spike up, you can see that hippeastrum blossbeldii, the orange flowering one, now has a well advanced spike. On this breezy and wet morning, we're going to take a little trip into the greenhouse and grrr at that ripped bubble wrap down there from the time when I locked the cat in by accident. So in we go past the glorious, glorious Brugmansia sanguinea, which is looking really fantastic at the moment, and beautiful orange trumpets. But do you see that stick just to the left? Let's move over here where you can see it a little more clearly. And if we go up like that, then you will very soon begin to work out what it is. And yes, it's my sweeping brush, my hard brush that I keep in the greenhouse just for cleaning things up. Now, the way I pruned this Brugmansia earlier on the year, it was a bit top heavy, and when the flowers matured, then they've just made it even more heavy, so there's a danger that the branches might break. So the broom is just helping out temporarily, and I'll prune it better next time. This Brugmansia flowers in winter and has these glorious trumpets, but it doesn't have a scent, unfortunately. Now we'll just pan up this side of the greenhouse, having a look at what's looking good at the moment. Cyclamen, of course, lots and lots of flowers on those, but I want to show you my Veltimia here. And this Veltimia is a yellow flowered one, which is new to my collection. I just was given it earlier on in the year, and it's going to be its first time flowering, so I'm really looking forward to that. And of course with Veltimia, the wavy leaves are very much a significant feature. But let's go down here and have a look at my established clump. And this is the normal Veltimia bracteata. I have 4 bulbs now, and very soon I'm going to have 4 large pink spikes. Veltimia has always reliably set seed for me after flowering, so members can look forward to some free seeds coming up very soon. And now let's have a look at some of my zebra haworthias. And we have 2 here, one of which is much greener than the other. And this is one that has had the correct amount of light. So haworthias need slight shade in order to maintain their correct colour. This second one is much redder, as you can see, and this has come from it having too much light in the summer, so we'll be fixing that going forward. A very easy greenhouse or house plant. This one is propagated by pups, and you can see many on the side of my plants. Now these plants are correctly Haworthiopsis, and there is some speculation as to the species name. You may have noticed on the green plant that the label said it was Haworthia fasciata, but actually I think both of these plants are Haworthiopsis attenuata, which is a lot commoner than fasciata. They are very similar in how they appear, with very minute differences. And look what's arrived, this parcel that has been more than 2 weeks in the post. I'd actually given up hope on it arriving, and it arrives today, the day before Christmas Eve. So we are going to open this and hope that the plants are still alive. And yeah, so like more than 2 weeks in the post is a bad recipe for any plant, but saving grace is that these are actually succulents. So, whereas they can't do without light, they can do without water for a long period of time. So, we're going to try and... How on earth does this open? I know what's going on with this box. Let's try opening it down here too. Shush.
Just open it, Mom.
I can't open this box.
Do you want some help, Mom?
Oh my god. A helpful family, as you can tell. Okay, shush guys. Trying to make a video here. Right, so these are my plants, and I bought them from a private seller in the UK who sells some of his plants on a regular basis. And these are haworthias, and basically what I did was get the complete haworthia collection. Now these are mostly species. First one called pearl drops. Right, so this is a gasteria, a variegated gasteria. So you can see how it's got edges of cream. These are all in fine form. Even the roots are still quite solid. Oh, that's nice, look at that. Look. When the light goes behind that, really, really pretty. Another great one. Oh, look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? Lovely little thing. Another one that when the light gets behind it, it'll look great. This seems a little bit dehydrated. So we'll need to give it a bit of water when I pot it up. Oh, that's nice, look at that. Dehydrated. But I'm sure it'll plump up once I give it a little bit of water. Ah yes, this was a bulb, and it's a type of stratify. And look, it's in active growth. Oh, with a little side shoot as well. So South African bulb, 2 little side shoots. Look at that. And I have the normal stratify, the one that everybody has. I think it's called alatus, with a red flower. So this one is a little bit different, and I couldn't help but avail.
Happy
Christmas! And that brings us to the end of this video, this vlogmas video, a mixed bag about stuff I've been doing on the lead up to Christmas. I wish you a very, very Merry Christmas, and thank you for all the support you've given the channel over the coming year, and check back for lots more great stuff. Bye. Happy Christmas.